there, Geek Collective, and welcome to Geeks Plus Comics, where we're more than just your average geek. And welcome to a special Wrestlemania season, special for Indie Comic Book Club. We are, of course, as this is dropping, it should be the Wednesday prior to WrestleMania weekend. We actually decided to line something up on purpose for once, and it seems to be working. Yay! Yeah. But we are doing a very special wrestling-themed comic for Indie Comic Book Club today. I am super excited to get into this one, and I, of course, am joined by LJ the Paladin and Nitro as we are diving into this.
Yo.
What up?
Two men who are also pretty, decent wrestling fans as well, are pretty much into it. We've been hanging out, watching wrestling the last couple of months, so I figured it's be a good one for us to kind of get our geek out on and talk about some wrestling stuff and a wrestling comic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Get us in the mood for WrestleMania season.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So
I guess before. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
To show off, we are of course talking about Do a Powerbomb from Daniel Warren Johnson.
There we go.
I think it's the first time all of us have held up the comic.
Such a cool cover, though. For real.
It is.
All right, so I have a question to kick it off. Let's kick it off in a fun way.
Uh-oh.
All right. I want to know everybody's background with professional wrestling. Like how you got into it, what you liked about it, how it influenced your life, if it did. I want to know everything. Let's go.
All right, yeah, let's
do it. I know
it.
some of it, which I think is why this is going to be a really cool conversation. So,
absolutely. LJ, you kick us off. Go on.
All right, yeah. So I got into wrestling around, I want to say 97. It was in the, I guess, prime Attitude Era, or I think, and I guess I would say prime. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's like right in the heart of the Attitude stuff.
Was easily one of the most popular wrestlers at the time. The Rock was already he was already pretty popular.
Yeah.
And then so I always Stone Cold was the household favorite. So I actually got into this because my mom's boyfriend at the time, his family was into it. So they started watching it, and so I watched it with them, and so that's how I got into that. Though the Stone Cold was the household kind of fan favorite, I also really low-key liked Undertaker. And even more so than Undertaker, I was really a big Kane fan. So he's easily one of my top wrestlers.
Yeah. So
I would say I definitely fell off in the early 2000s, though. I just didn't have as much time to watch it, especially at my dad's house and stuff like that. I got away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess towards when the Attitude Era was kind of ending. So
yeah,
I really missed up until a couple years ago when the Cody and Roman feud started happening. I had kind of fallen off. I had gotten into, I guess, some of the mid to later 2000s stuff when one of my cousins, he had some wrestling tapes and DVDs and stuff like that. So I was able to actually get into some of the late 2000s era. That was also because of I ended up grabbing SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 on my PSP.
Nice.
Played the crap out of that game.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude.
So that kind of got me back into that era. And so it's been a very off and on thing with wrestling. I feel like over the years, all the video games, and so yeah, that's kind of really been it. Again, and I really love how the culture has been everybody's oh, I'm stop watching this because this is fake, or everybody's calling it fake now or whatever. And then it's well, no, now we live in an era. Everybody knows it's entertainment, but it's also respected as a professional sport as well. So I really love where the mentality is at these days, because it was one of those things where it's I kind of got made fun of a little bit by other family members because I watch wrestling.
Oh yeah,
it's fake, but no, I'm glad. I think it's a really awesome era for everybody for people lapsed fans like myself to get back into it.
Oh yeah.
That's just kind of my history in it.
Nice.
In a nutshell, so.
I think, all right, I'll go because I know part of your story. And
I know you don't want me to go last.
Go last. All right. So I'm kind of like LJ, although I'm a little older than LJ. So I've been watching wrestling. I watched wrestling since I was a kid. So Lex Luger, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Hillbilly Jim, for those of you who know. He was the man. Anyways, my dude, when I grew up, when I was really, really young, was the Ultimate Warrior. As I get older, I realized he was not that great to work with, and he wasn't really that great of a worker per se. Like, he blew out really easy. No offense to anyone who likes him. I love him still. But he just his look, his energy, his really nonsensical promos that he did, I loved them still. I didn't care. But as I got older, I kind of fell off a little bit towards like the mid 90s, the Bret Hart Undertaker era. Although there was an arcade game, I don't know if you guys remember this.
Yes,
that came
the
out.
Wrestlemania arcade game.
Yeah, with Bret Hart, it had Bam Bam Bigelow, it had
that
Undertaker.
was honestly probably my very first exposure to wrestling. Like, I knew about Hulk Hogan, I knew about all those guys from that like arcade game right there, and then later was when I really got into it. So yes, I'm right there with you.
That was the one that had the kind of, it was very arcadey, like Bam Bam Bigelow when he did his headbutt, it was like flames and everything.
It was made from the Mortal Kombat devs.
That's when I kind of started getting back into wrestling, and right around that time, 95, 96, 97 was when the Attitude Era was popping. Was getting ready to pop off. So I got deep into wrestling, late 90s, early 2000s, right around, I went to college around 2001 in fall, and I went to a very conservative college, so we didn't have TV. I know. So I didn't watch wrestling, so I kind of fell off. But my dudes in the Attitude Era, The Rock was obviously my number one. That was my dude. He had everything. He was the complete package. He had the mic skills, he had the work skills, he had the persona, he had the personality, he had the look, he had legitimately had everything, as did Stone Cold. I don't want to take anything away from Stone Cold. I love Stone Cold too. Yeah. But a sleeper hit of mine was Gangrel with the Super DDT and the Brood with Edge and Christian.
The Brood.
I'm sorry, man.
The dark stuff was kind of dope.
The bloodbaths and all that stuff, man, I couldn't get enough of that. I loved it. Yeah. So in that time, like late 90s, I was in high school, and I had a couple buddies that loved wrestling too. And I used to buy these backyard wrestling tapes. That's when ECW was really big.
Yeah.
And there would be people wrestling in the backyards with like barbed wire and like dropping people off houses and stuff. And we were like, dude, we should do some backyard wrestling. So I dabbled in a little backyard wrestling for a couple of years.
That they have the "Don't try this at home" warnings.
My wrestler's name was T-Bone.
Ever listened to those?
My wrestler's name was T-Bone, and my special move was called the Dog Pound.
Nice.
And it was basically a modified F5.
I wish I could change the name on your thing right now to T-Bone for the overlay. I wish I could change T-Bone.
It was me and this other dude would always do the hardcore matches, and we had real like Baptist church metal chairs. That's all we had. The thick ones, right? So chair shots were brutal. DDTs on like a 2-inch mat on permafrost ground was brutal. Man, I had so much fun though.
That's amazing.
Like, I lived wrestling for like 3-4 years, like Monday Night Wars. That was my jam. But then I kind of fell off. And right around like, I don't know, I guess the beginning of this year, to be honest, like when WWE came to Netflix, and I know you guys started talking about watching events, and we started doing some like just hanging out, streaming the event, and just talking through and stuff like that.
I dragged you back in for the Royal Rumble, and it was like, you could see it. The fire was back, man. He was hooked again.
Yeah, that's so cool. So that's my background. I've dabbled in it on and off for about 30 years, and it's really
definitely a historic moment for us to like be back into it.
Elimination Chamber was cool because the three of us literally sat and watched it together, and it was pretty epic to kind of just sit and watch that.
Yeah. Anyway.
But, all right, Cross, take us away, man.
I know you've been waiting for me to do mine. So I kind of didn't really get into wrestling until a little bit later, mostly because it was just hard to get a hold of. I grew up in Scotland, so we didn't really get a lot of the WWE stuff as prevalent as it is now. Like, it's a worldwide phenomenon now. The first wrestling I saw were like just random VHSs I found in stores that I wanted to buy, and it was like Hulk Hogan's greatest matches and stuff. And so that was the stuff I watched, and the only stuff I kind of knew was his match, like with his match with Andre the Giant, and him squaring off with Roddy Piper and fighting Randy Savage and all that sort of the classic stuff. When I properly got into watching it, it was a friend who actually got me into it. Because it had finally started showing on terrestrial TV. It had been on Sky, but we didn't have any Sky or cable or satellite or anything like that. But I'd heard friends talking about DX, and everybody was doing the suck it signs and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But I got into it kind of just at the tail end of the Attitude Era, because I started watching in the year 2000. So like I was like right at the tail end. My guy from the get-go was The Rock. Because I got into it, Stone Cold was out injured at the time. They had the whole him getting run over angle who was in. So I didn't see him until the end of the year. But like my thing that got me into it was The Rock and Triple H trading back and forth for like, the first 4 or 5 months of the year. And I'm like, I'm in. This is amazing. Mixed with as well, my other probably favorite wrestler at the time, definitely Mick Foley. Watching him as Cactus Jack, and that still to this day, that street fight at Royal Rumble with Triple H is one of my favorite matches. The two of them just went all in, and I'm like, dude, this is amazing. This is so good. But I
also
yes, I was going to say that.
You did not mention that.
Yes.
I saw a meme a while back.
He's broken in half.
I saw a meme where it's like, whoever watches Hell in the Cell match for fun is insane, or something like that.
Yeah.
Nobody watches that match for fun.
Which, a little thing for that, if you've ever read Mick Foley's first autobiography, Have a Nice Day, it's so funny because he talks about that Hell in a Cell, and he wanted to do something different. He wanted to start it on top. But he went and talked to Taker, and Taker never confirmed they were going to start on top. So he went out there and climbed the cage and then went, oh crap, I hope he comes up here. Like the whole of Undertaker's entrance is just like, I hope he comes up on top of the cage. Because I would have looked so stupid climbing back down at the start of the match. And thankfully he did. But yeah, like I love Taker as well when he came back. That was actually my favorite version of Taker. I always preferred like American Badass Taker and Biker Taker to like the Dead Man Taker. I always heard people saying, like, oh, he should be the supernatural one that doesn't talk. And I'm like, doesn't talk? Give the man a mic. If you heard him promo, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's terrifying. He's a phenomenal thing to listen to. Like, I was all in.
I do like the American Badass version, too. I know that was unpopular at the time, but I really
like it's an unpopular opinion for it. But, like, yeah, that was my version of Taker that I got into. And I'm like, I always liked that version. But I watched WWE for a good few years. I probably watched till about 2005, and then I started kind of getting a bit fed up of it and stuff. Like, I think it was a combination of a lot of stuff. Other favorite wrestlers that came in around the time that I got into were like Eddie Guerrero, and then Chris Benoit was a big one for me as well.
Yeah, dude.
So of
Dean
course,
Malenko for me was huge.
Yeah. So of course, Eddie and his death in 2005, and then Benoit death in 2006 with all the stuff that came with that I'm not going to get into now. Like, that was a big mix with like I just wasn't enjoying the product in WWE as much. But we also in Scotland got a channel on cable called the Wrestling Channel, which showed like wrestling from around the world.
Oh, nice!
And that was my first exposure to TNA. And so in 2005, I made the transition to TNA because I got completely hooked on this ring that had 6 sides. Instead
that was
of 4.
so cool.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I watched the wrestling and I'm like, this is amazing. Watching people like a lot of them who have been in WWE or still are, like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels, and these guys who were Christopher Daniels, who by the way has a blurb on the back of the comic we're talking about.
Nice. I did not know that.
He was a TNA wrestler, now works with AEW. He was my guy in TNA for a while as well. But like that became my big kind of go-to place for like 2005 to the early 2010s. It was like I became a big TNA guy. Round about that era was also when me and my friend decided like we really want to do this because we started going to live shows. There was live shows in our hometown that started doing wrestling and stuff. Nice. SWA, the Scottish Wrestling Alliance, and there was a bunch of like other companies. The biggest one in Scotland now is probably ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, which is very ECW-esque. For a while, their stuff was actually on the WWE network, which is insane.
Nice.
Okay.
Biggest moment in their company history when all of a sudden Mark Dallas comes out to talk about, the owner of the company, to talk about his connection with WWE, and then all of a sudden Triple H walked out into this small Scottish venue.
Good grief.
Freaking mind blowing, man.
That's cool.
But I actually started training to be a professional wrestler and went to a good few training sessions. I originally went to SWA's training, but like it was so out the way and just hard to get to. It was a bit of a struggle. We found one that was closer with BCW, British Championship Wrestling, and started kind of training with them for a little bit. And unfortunately, just got to a point in life where it was like I felt like God was calling me in a different direction. And I kind of had to make the decision of like, I can only, like, if I'm going to go into wrestling, I'm the sort of person that's going to fully commit to this. And I'm going to have to travel, and I'm going to have to go to all these companies, and I'm going to have to bust my ass doing this. And this other thing I feel like I'm meant to do, I don't know if I can do them both. I'm going to have to pick one. And I ended up picking that one. And to be honest, my body probably thanks me.
Yeah.
But it afforded great opportunities to meet phenomenal wrestlers that would come in and help train, including getting to meet Drew Galloway, who's now Drew McIntyre in WWE.
Nice.
Got to meet him like right before he went to the States for the first time, when they first hired him.
That's awesome.
I love his TikToks.
He's amazing. Like, Drew is like, and he's living his best life right now, man. Like, best heel in the company, hands down. And the cat videos are insane. I love the fact he's become known as a heel in the company and for TikToks with cats.
I love it.
for no reason. Like, it's the most random thing. But yeah, that was my thing. And then I kind of fell out of love with wrestling around about 2010. I got fed up. I was into TNA. I'd completely given up on WWE at that point. I just wasn't interested. And I fell out of love with TNA because they brought in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff and all that crew that had killed WCW, and they started doing the same thing with TNA, and that just became not fun to watch as well.
Yeah.
So I really fell off. I kind of kept track of stuff just because I think it was one of my hyper fixations. So I kept kind of just keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
And saw some really cool stuff, really cool wrestlers over the years, kind of kept up with stories. But it was honestly Cody that kind of brought me back.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit before the him and Roman feud. It was when he came back at WrestleMania 38. That moment of him leaving AEW, the company that he had helped create, and coming back to WWE, which no one thought was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
An AEW main wrestler coming back to WWE, to a place that had been so awful to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not, let alone a founder of the opposing company.
Yeah.
That really felt like the rebirth of this new Renaissance era of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And the honest truth is, it kind of has been, because like I've been hooked ever since. And then I've watched bits and pieces where I can on YouTube and on different stuff, because like I don't have cable and stuff or anything like that to watch. But then Raw came to Netflix this year, and it's just been so easy just to sit and watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even the pay-per-views. Like whenever they started doing the events on like Peacock, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me get Peacock, because like what, $5 a month. And it was because of like you said, the Cody stuff and AEW. Like I remember when because I didn't really follow a little bit, but I knew some people, some podcasters that did. And so there was a while where AEW came in, and everybody's like, oh yeah, this is gonna eat WWE's lunch. And then it became this whole other thing. Like it just changed, and it's been kind of wild to follow that.
Yeah, I honestly think that was one of the big things for it, because its competition breeds the best. I think that's why WWE struggled for so long, was because it needed the competition. And part of that was from Cody, because Cody was basically challenged by Dave Meltzer, the wrestling like news reporter. Like when he was out on the indies doing that, like an indie company is never going to sell a venue like this big. I can't remember the exact number. And literally Cody responded to it and went, okay, challenge accepted. And it was him and the tag team of the Young Bucks literally funded the whole event and sold out this arena, a completely independent show.
Dang.
And that was essentially the birth of what was going to be AEW from there. And it's like, it's insane. And it's like, it's just, sweet. And I just got drawn back into this world and remembered all the stuff that I loved about this and why it was so good. And
I will say also, sorry, the part that I left out. There's a healthy amount of just wrestling dialogue on like YouTube and things like that. And I love learning about behind the scenes stuff and like just how stuff works. And I'm obviously a huge fan of kayfabe and all that stuff, but it's kind of broken now.
Yeah, kayfabe's not really a thing anymore.
Have a different version of it, but I mean, when we were growing up, it was legit. It was kayfabe. Like, you thought what was happening on screen was actually happening in real life. And just learning all about that, learning like who had beef with who, and like who stiffed who, and like who got receipts from other people, and even honestly, Maven's stuff. I watch his channel all the time on YouTube, and just seeing some of his takes from being the winner of Tough Enough and joining WWE right at the tail end of the Attitude Era, and he getting to work with all the big names and all that stuff, and even honestly Steve Austin's Broken Skull podcast. I've watched that a handful of times, and Jim Cornette and Jim Ross and
TikTok and Instagram, like all the reels and stuff like that, have helped me get invested again, even if I'm not regularly watching.
I thought he was a good one for me. One of the big interviewers out there is Chris Van Vliet.
Yes.
His stuff's phenomenal. He literally every week he has an interview come out with a wrestler, and it can be a WWE wrestler, an AEW wrestler, an indie wrestler.
Who's the Scottish dude? Is Off the Ropes? Is that what it's called?
Oh, Inside the Ropes. Yeah.
Inside the Ropes. That's it. Oh, yeah, he's really good too.
And I think I think that's one of the things that's been really cool for me has been getting actual wrestler stories, because it's been a case of like it's helped me connect with wrestlers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what was the one that
it's a different thing than it was when we were growing up. It's a completely different thing.
To, like, talk about the business now.
You need to be able to talk directly to individuals, and I feel like they've done. I feel like wrestling as a whole is doing a good job with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, we've talked about our backgrounds a little bit.
I do think it's hilarious because I know Joy's like, I'm gonna bow out. I'm not. And I'm like,
dude, I legitimately don't think she's watched the one match. Which
I just think about how lost she would be right now.
Oh yeah, Liz, it's probably, if there's one for her to sit out, this is probably the best one to be on. Hey there, Geek Collective. Did you know that Geeks Plus is also on Patreon? For as little as just $2 a month, you can also support us over on Patreon and get early access to all of our YouTube videos from Geeks Plus Comics, Geeks Plus Tabletop, and Geeks Plus Gaming, as well as a whole bunch of exclusive content specifically for our supporters over on Patreon, and early access to all the behind the scenes and ongoings with the company. So if you would like to check out all of that stuff and help support what we do here at Geeks Plus, we would greatly appreciate heading over to patreon.com/geeksplusmedia and supporting us over there. But that's all from me from now. You all have a good day, and let's get back into your video. But that's a good thing though, because for Do a Powerbomb, Daniel Warren Johnson is a full-blown wrestling fan. The dude is a huge wrestling fan. He's talked about it. He's talked about how much he loves the business. He loves the sport. He loves the wrestlers. He loves a bunch of the different companies. And I'm like, that is my first thing to say about this book. Mm-hmm. I have never seen a comic book, and that includes comics that are written, like there's WWE's had freaking comics out there for a while now and different stuff like this. I have never seen a comic book actually encapsulate the feeling of wrestling.
Yeah.
This comic really did. Like he knew how matches would be laid out. He knew how, like, terminology for stuff and names for moves and how people would react and behave, and like it's so well done.
I remember I was reading the book before I went to bed over a series of a couple of nights, and I was trying to explain it to Joy, and I was like, it's kinetic. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. The book feels like it's vibrating with energy.
You feel like, the movement from a still image.
It's like you did a line of coke and then you read a book. It's like everything is just like boom, like popping. I've never done coke. I'm assuming that's what it would feel like. But it's crazy. It's awesome. It's like super kinetic, super energetic. Like the images and the what's happening just like jump off the page. And like you said, like you can tell he knows inside and out wrestling. He knows it inside and out. The psychology, the storytelling with the matches, even the personas of the wrestlers. He knows it. He lives it.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to say this as well before we dive deeper. This is going to be full spoilers for that because I want to talk spoilers for some of this stuff. There's some big stuff in here, and it's freaking amazing. And I want to
be hard not to talk spoilers.
I want to get out of the weeds of it because even like as of like the early issues, there's spoilers that I'm like that are big plot points which you shouldn't hear if you want to go into it blind. We all recommend this book. There's a link for it down below. Go get it. If you are a wrestling fan or if you're curious at all, it is worth checking it out. Daniel Warren Johnson is one of the darlings in the comic business right now. He's doing phenomenal. I think he's still doing Transformers stuff now. He's taking over the Transformers run and stuff. He's doing amazing things. So this is absolutely worth checking out. And if you're a wrestling fan, this is a must read. So go check it out. But from this point on, spoilers. 100% we're going to hit spoilers because I want to talk on some points that are...
The warning is worth it.
It's just like, I'm going to give you, this is your chance, duck out, no more warning, but I mean, the storytelling of it, and that's something he encapsulates as well, that comics and wrestling have in common, is storytelling and getting people involved. End of issue 2. When Cobra Sun takes off his mask, and it's her dad.
Yeah.
That blew my freaking mind. I did not see that coming, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Let's set this up real quick. Let's set it up real quick.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read the comic and you don't care about spoilers, it starts off with a match between what is her mom's name?
Yuba Steel Rose.
Yuba Steel Rose. Yuba Steel Rose and a wrestler called Cobra Sun. They're wrestling. It's an incredible match, and then there's a botched move from Cobra Sun, and Yua ends up dying.
Which it felt so real to even see that because there's so many botches where you've seen people get injured, and I'm like,
and Lola is there in the audience if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she's watching.
So she sees this dude botch this move, kill her mom, and it basically there's like a flash forward 10 years later, and she is now like a wrestler or in the process of becoming a wrestler. And you get through issue 1, and then like Cross said, like midway to the end of issue 2, it's revealed that this is actually her dad. And I am with you 100%. I was like, wait, what?
I'm like,
that was her dad?
Because it went from like, okay, so they're getting... We'll get into the full details of it, like where they're getting put together for a tag team match, and you think, okay, so the story's going to be she's going to have to learn to work with the guy who killed her mom.
Yeah.
Which, even before I knew who it was under the mask, heart sorry for the guy. It's like kayfabe broke in that moment, even in the comic, and it was like, oh my god, I killed her. It wasn't meant to. It was just meant to be a top rope move,
And it was more of her just reaching out to this other person, going, hey, I know you feel the guilt of it too.
Yeah, and for the two of them to work together, and it's like, okay, we have to work
together. But then when that moment comes, it makes it even like, even worse.
I like what they do though, because it would be very easy in this scenario to write it as, oh, I'm gonna never talk to him again, and it's gonna be this whole thing for like 2 to 3 issues. But she realizes, no, he's going through the same thing, although like differently, obviously, than I am. We're both going through grief. Let's process this together in a way that we know how, and that's kicking some ass in the wrestling ring.
It's so well, but then you see that reveal and that mask comes off, which, by the way, can I just say, the Cobra Sun costume, the Cobra Sun attire, mask and tights is gorgeous. It is a beautiful design. He takes the mask off, and it's her dad.
Yeah.
And that hits in so many ways because you've seen her dad before who was telling her not to get into the business. You think he's just trying to talk her out of something bad happening because he lost his wife. Then you think...
That's the match between Yua and Cobra Sun.
And then you realise, oh wait, no, she's getting her dad to work with her to try and do this. And then it kind of hits you, like the last big thing of like, oh my goodness, he killed his wife. He accidentally killed his wife in the... And you see Cobra Sun like torturing himself by doing these like low rent, like hardcore matches where he's destroying himself, and it's like almost like
a shot. There's a shot that shoots him from the back, and he has his shirt off, and you see all these scars and gashes and blood.
It's just like a form of like penance, a form of like self punishment for having done this. And like, I can't say that I blame the dude, that I wouldn't be feeling the exact same in that situation, and. it's just, so you're gripped in the story of this family.
Yeah.
You're gripped in this story, and then they take it unbelievably, amazingly. This feels very grounded for where it goes very quickly, because it ends up like,
I love it, dude.
we're going to drag you into this multi-dimensional intergalactic wrestling tournament.
Dude, I love
this book was going to be grounded. Come on,
I love mashups. Can I say how much I love mashups? And the fact that this is a mashup between like professional wrestling and like Dante's Inferno, more or less, I was like, dude, I am here for it. Like, it's like Mortal Kombat meets WrestleMania. It's awesome.
So it gives me a lot of vibes. I don't know if y'all remember from back in the cartoon. In Japan, it's called Kinnikuman, but it's called Ultimate. The sequel series is called Ultimate Muscle here in America. It is so, like, it reminds me a lot of that, and you can kind of tell there are some influences. Like, Cobra Sun's like mask is got the thing like character from that anime manga.
Yeah,
but that's what it reminds me of, because it has this fantastical sense of like, we're just gonna throw all this realism out the window and just make it as crazy as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in effect, it becomes more real.
Yeah,
right? Because like these people are like legitimately getting injured and
because they go into this.
Oh yeah.
Because like I still don't totally know how to describe the guy that gets them, but Nectaron, I think's his name.
Nectaron or Necraton.
Necraton. I have tried to say his name and failed so many times because like the letters just don't fit together in my head. But he basically brings them in, and it's like with the promise of, I can bring your mom back.
Yeah.
The winner of this tournament can get someone back from the dead, and he's got, it's this thing of like, he's basically built up as like, he's almost like this nearly god level necromancer being, but he was lost in combat, so he's like stuck on this little like island dimension,
something,
whatever the hell he is, some castle that he's stuck in, and he basically has decided, I've been watching wrestling, I like wrestling, I'm going to hold a wrestling tournament. And basically says like, it's going to be, what is it, the life death tournament?
Life death tournament,
life death like tag team tournament, and it's like, and he brings in Lona Steel Rose and Cobra Sun from Earth, and then brings in all, I think there's one other team that come in from Earth, and then the rest are all like from different planets,
which was times. Also a massive reveal.
Oh yeah, that was a huge reveal. We'll get to that one. The other team from Earth like is connected as well. Didn't see that coming. But like, he's basically, I'm a huge wrestling fan, I want to do this, and Lona kind of asks him, it's like, well, how are you determining the winner then, especially with something that big on the line? He's like, what? Everywhere else in the universe, in the multiverse, wrestling is completely real. No predetermined outcomes, no working with your opponent, no, you're full, it's just sport and it's just kicking ass. Which Lona and Cobra Sun adapted pretty quickly, to be honest. Which I'm glad they did. I'm glad they didn't like do a whole thing of like, oh, we need to get used to actually doing the moves to intentionally hurt people. Like, no, they just
just started kicking butt.
Dude. Yeah, they just get in there and start kicking ass. Can I just say as well, for the tag teams that we see, we don't see all the tag teams because it's a tournament, so we only see the ones that they're facing and setting up for. How much they make me connect and understand the tag teams in like a page. I'm thinking mostly of, what was it, the Knights? I can't remember the name, but like, we get like a page of their backstory of why they're fighting.
Their signature move name is so dope, by the way.
The Knights of Rhine.
The signature move was called Arthur's Table, and I'm like,
dude.
It looks so cool, man. The name of the moves in this are perfect. But the whole thing is like, everyone's looking to bring someone back, and you get like where they're coming from and why they're fighting so hard, and then you get like where, like, what is it, the first team they faced, like the orangutans? It's like, okay, we're fighting orangutans, why not? And then the final team, it was at Faizo, F your stupid opinion. who just seemed like a completely like attitude-driven team. Like, oh, they're just going to be the typical like bad guys for the comic.
Yeah.
They did not need to do that to me. In the start of that issue, where you find out why they're fighting, and you find out both of them have lost a kid.
Yeah.
And they're in the tournament to try and get
totally
their
forgot about that.
kid back. And I'm like, you didn't need to do that to me. Like,
It's kind of emotional seeing the results of that too, where that went. I'm like,
oh yeah, it's wow. Like the whole thing of like their pact of like, oh yeah, we're not just winning the tournament. And it's like we can only get one kid back, so we're going to fight to the death of who actually gets to have their kid back.
And they both died.
And then both died, and neither of them got it.
That one got me.
It's
I was like, what?
Oh my goodness! Like this is like insane. But
so, can we take a beat to talk about the art for a second?
Yes, absolutely. Art also by Daniel Warren Johnson, by the way.
So
he's writer and artist.
So the story and the artist, is Daniel Warren Johnson. And one of the things that I particularly like in comics is when you let a story breathe. It's the same thing for movies with me. When you let a scene breathe, you give it enough space to just impact you however it needs to impact you. A lot of comics don't do that. A lot of comics try to put as much on the page as they can, which understandable. You have a limited amount of pages and you need to get a story across to the readers. I get that. One of the things about this being basically a creator-owned story, and it's his creation, is he can kind of do whatever he wants. There's a couple parts in this book that are burned into my memory, and they're all during mostly during matches.
Yeah.
There's one scene in particular where not Lola, right? Lola is her daughter. Lona does a swanton bomb off the top rope.
Yes.
And the way that he sets the shot up is he pulls back as if you're sitting in the audience. The audience behind the ring is kind of grayed out. You see faces and stuff like that, but it's like you're watching a wrestling match. It's like you're watching Wrestlemania. You see Cobra Sun, he's like holy crap, I can't believe she's doing this, and it's her paused in the air. Dude, this will forever. I don't know if you can see that. That will forever be burned in my brain as one of the coolest shots I've ever seen in a comic.
Are probably the coolest parts of the comic, because it makes me think of when you watch a wrestler do like a moonsault or a splash or something, and they just get the high flying vibe. So
that's another one,
straight out of a broadcast. So
that's another one where Cobra Sun is basically doing the same move off the top of the stairs. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, there's a lot of cool shots of just in the ring, and I don't know if you guys noticed it was. Like when they're in the thick of the wrestling matches, most of the panels are slanted, and there's just a lot of kinetic energy and all that stuff, and just the way that he captures moves.
There's almost like a few shots as well that have got almost like a blur to them, so it's like you're catching that in actual movement, like the actual motion happening. I'm like, it's so cool.
He does a good job of showing up before and after of the move. You see Cobra Sun winding up for a kick, and then you see the explosive aftermath of a kick across the face. It his ability. This is not my normal go-to drawing style. This kind of looser drawing style, almost exaggerated body postures and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it is perfect for this.
Yeah,
for this story.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I love it, man. And even the colors. I don't think he did the colors. It was Mike Spicer, I think, that did the colors.
Someone else did the coloring for it. But really
Mike Spicer, the colors are incredible.
But it's clear the two of them worked very closely together because they've made the art and the colors just meld so well.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
I cannot pick a favorite panel in this book, because there was times where I wanted to be ooh, I want to mention that, or I want to remember that, and then just the more you keep going through the book, it's just oh, I cannot
even stuff like that. You feel that, that kick, you feel that going through his face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know how they've done it, but they've managed to make it feel alive. I get the same feeling reading about these matches as I do watching a wrestling match.
Yeah,
they've managed to
way
encapsulate
other
it,
than
and
kinetic to describe it.
that's like when you're reading a comic, you're like, I feel like I'm watching a movie.
yeah,
That's exactly what this is. I felt like I was watching the stuff actually happen.
Yeah.
Joy and I have that conversation a lot. There's those few comics where they draw it and they tell the story in such a way where it feels like you're actually watching it happen. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Like this shot, this like clothesline shot right here is like fantastic. Like stuff like that is yeah. I'm just looking through it and I'm like, I just can't pick a favorite. It's
there's so many good shots. There's so many, and like you said, I think the thing is they do a great job of exaggerating stuff so much when it comes to the in-ring stuff. You see like all the motion, all the movement, all the flow, and then they also are able to pull it back in the quiet moments.
Yeah.
When they're sitting in the locker room and when they're just talking. And even like we talked about, like, you know, that Cobra Sun is her father, and she doesn't know that pretty much until the final match, until his mask is torn.
Yeah.
But this really crazy kinetic style all of a sudden just kind of closes in and stops. When the two of them are having like just this face-to-face conversation in this quiet moment, and it's just it's beautifully done. But yet the art style hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't.
But yet it seems to be morphing to what it needs to be. And I'm like, I don't know how to describe it. You honestly need to pick up the book and see it for yourself. Like it's mind-blowing. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, I think it's the perfect art style for this subject matter.
Yes.
And it fits it so well.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add on to the art as well, LJ? Sorry, I kept cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
We're still on art, right?
Yeah, if you're still
Okay, well, I wanted to mention, because you were talking about like the slower moments or even in the quiet moments. This book, I guess it's because of also that kinetic energy, I guess. Like, I feel like there's no other way to describe it, but the pacing of the book is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of the art and because of the art lends itself to the pacing as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like these are fast-paced, high-flying, hard-hitting matches.
Yeah.
You're getting that throughout the book.
Well, and I mean, talking about the pacing, like we're in that other world, multiverse area in the middle of issue 2. Like we're there, like, and it's started, you know, and it doesn't feel rushed. It feels earned, you know, like the emotional punch of the story happens right at the beginning and it's the fallout of that. And then it goes right into the other world, which is the main part of the book. And I agree with you, LJ. I think the pacing
I was trying not to take away from the discussion of the art because we're in the midst of that, but I'm just like, because of the art and because of the way they capture those matches, I feel like it goes at the pace it needs to. Then we get the panels of the discussions and those quiet moments like in between. Yeah. So like I feel like because we're easily able to imagine the art, or like we're easily able to imagine what's going on the page because of the art, we're also able to enjoy those moments when things do slow down. So like, yeah, the art lends itself to the pacing and the writing like extremely well.
Yep, I would agree.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's insane. Like I didn't feel like at any moment it rushed. I don't feel like at any moment it sped up too much or it slowed down too much. And also, like, it's been a long time for I felt this, but it was a comic I literally couldn't put down. I wanted to see what happened next. I wanted to see what the next issue held. I wanted to grasp that. And I love comics, and even at that, like, it's hard for me because doing this is a job as well. Like, it's sometimes you're just like, okay, I just need to put it down. And don't get me wrong, there was nights where I'm like half falling asleep where I was like, I need to put it down because I'm about to fall asleep and I'm taking nothing in. But I wanted to keep going. I got to the end of some of those reveals and I'm like, I need to see what happens. I need to see what they do next and where this goes and what the next part of the story is. And it was just very encapsulating. And I feel like it is really cool because like it gives you the great payoffs you need for these characters. But you also like, you get this emotional lesson at the end of it. And again, okay, this is going in for full spoilers for the end of it to talk about this bit. So if you really don't want the ending of the book spoiled, please go and come back later once you've read it. But like, you get to the point of like the final fight for the tournament, the Death Life tournament, and FISO win. They win the tag titles. They win the whole tournament. So Cobra-san and Lona are completely heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because like they're not going to get her back. And then these two fight to the death and kill each other. And Nick Braun or whatever the hell his name actually has basically drags them back out like, they've killed each other. I need to put these belts on someone because if I don't, no one's going to come back.
Yeah, because they're like, wait, we lost, and he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, the winners are dead. I'm just
winners are dead. I need to do this. If I don't give the people champs, they won't watch next year's. So just come out and take the belts. They come out and they take the belts, but then they find out he can't actually fulfill what they need. He's not got enough power. So they go into one final fight. And legitimately, the final issue of this, it feels like a D&D campaign. The final issue of this is handicap match against God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally against God. And I'm like...
It looks like a gladiator.
Yeah, like he's full-blown gladiator, metal mask on.
End, I don't know if y'all have heard or seen the anime Gurren Lagann.
No, I've not seen that one, no.
That anime gets so bonkers, and it just and that's what this reminds me of, because it's literally universe-ending like stuff, like you said, like a D&D campaign. It's
yeah,
just, nope.
And it's like because
being in the universe, it's literally God. Like what? Like as crazy as this book got, I don't think I expected. I
wasn't expecting God. That went to place I wasn't expecting, because he basically says, awesome. "Well, I can't do it, but there is someone who has that power." But he's going to have a request of you because he's a huge wrestling fan as well, which I loved as a kind of like almost like a little thing, because obviously that's the joke of like, you know, like God wrestled Jacob and stuff like that in the Bible. So like God's a wrestling fan.
It got me thinking like biblically, like big time too. Like I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of themes to this.
Which I like, that's kind of funny actually. That's kind of a good little jab for it. But then obviously they go into the match and they go into the fight, and don't get me wrong, they put up a better fight than I was expecting. But they of course lose. And like they're completely wrecked and completely destroyed and completely worn. And God just pulls them up, and it's that moment of like because you wonder what was going to happen, because they're like, are they really going to give her mom back? It's a comic, it can happen.
Yeah.
But instead it does the emotional thing of God basically saying to her, you need to work through this. You've came through this. You're building your relationship with your father, and you need to... I can't give you her back, but what can I do? Yeah. And it's that thing of like, I just want her to see us.
The angle of that too, like the way they did it, because I feel like you go into this knowing like, oh yeah, she's not actually going to get her.
No. Like, but it's like her working through her grief. Yeah.
Yes. So the way they go about that is like really cool, because it's like, yes, there's a lesson to be learned here. She's not going to get her mom back, but how they get there with this outlandish like thing that happens is
because that's it. Because you see like Lona and then you see Cobra-san both working through their loss and working through the emotion, and that thing of like, we just want her to be with us and to see this moment of them standing celebrating with the titles, and it's like, and then you get that beautiful moment at the end of like the vision of Yua and the crowd watching them, saying that she's proud. It's like it's someone working through the stages of grief to acceptance of like, I'm not getting them back, and that's okay. It's okay to be sad and hurt. But I can move forward. It's like, which I wasn't expecting, this almost like emotional gut punch at the end, but you realize the book's been building to this emotional gut punch the whole time, and it's like,
well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like the way that he ties wrestling back to just like us as humans in that last beat with when God restores her memories, and then she remembers that conversation that she had with her mom in her bedroom when she was younger, and her mom's, you know, she's like, where do people go when they die? And then her mom talks about that a little bit, and like, no one knows. And then she talks about wrestling and how a lot of people think it's just about the end, but it's about the story. And then, like you said, there's that final shot of her in the audience, of her mom in the audience. That's my girl, you know. It was just a really, really cool way to end it.
Yeah, it's so beautifully done. Like, this might be literally one of my top books we've ever reviewed on Indie Comic Book Club. Like,
in all general,
of Indie, Indie Comic Book Club, it's like it's a near perfect book.
Grief. It is it definitely hits home for me
Mhm.
because, like, you know, I lost my dad and my stepmom to suicide in 2012, and so like having worked through that stuff, it's like the symbolism and everything that they go through is huge because like
Yeah.
like you know, when you talked about like towards the end of the book with Nitro, it's like there are times when I'm like I wish like they could be around to see like my niece and nephew grow up, to see like
Mhm.
where I witness where I'm at in life, like
Yeah.
during some of these things that I've experienced, and it's like
Mhm.
so like that shot, that end shot is like, oh no, she's there, like you
Yeah.
know, like so it's just
Yeah.
like having experienced that personally, like that last shot is like real like that. So that also not only is like the art and the story and everything about the book amazing, but just that
Yeah.
personal connection for me just puts it over the edge.
It's like that bastard snuck in a moral story
Yes,
guised as a fun wrestling comic. How
right
dare
at the end,
you?
like he just like snuck it in there.
Yeah, man, it's just Daniel Warren Johnson. That's the one person I'm gutted I didn't meet when we went to C2E2 a couple of years ago.
I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time.
I literally had my copy of issue 1 of Do a Powerbomb with me, and I could not find his table.
Oh, I remember that.
I could
totally
not find
remember
his
that.
table, and that was the one I
If I
was
ever get the
gutted at.
opportunity, yeah, I'm getting this signed.
Yeah, if I ever get the chance, I'm going to make sure I get that signed by him again, because like this comic was just, it blew my mind. And I think maybe, you know, it could be because I'm getting so into wrestling again and getting such that big pop from stuff from it again. But like literally, this may be one of my favorite comics that I've read like in a long, long time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying in Discord the other day. I'm just like, before I was even done, I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I know, and I was trying not to say anything because I loved it too, man. I was like you, Cross. I couldn't put it down. Like I read it over the span of like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Like before I went to bed, which that's huge for me because it takes me a while.
Bring it to me with like I wanted to bring it with to work with me, but I already knew I'm only going to get to read it for 5 seconds before I get somebody walking through the door. So there's no. So
yeah,
I was like, I couldn't wait to get home to read it these 3 days. I started like Saturday or Sunday, and I was like, I couldn't.
It's just it's an absolutely phenomenal read, and it makes me want to read the rest of his stuff. I want to see what he does with his other stuff, because I know he does, was it Murder Falcon was like his other big one that he done.
I want to read
that one is on my list.
And that's on my indie list to pick up. I know he did like a Wonder Woman comic as well, like a standalone Wonder Woman. And then I have not kept up with the recent Transformers run, but like I immediately want to go and get the first volume.
Yeah, I read the first volume. I have it, and it's really, really cool. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I feel like the art style fits this comic more than it does Transformers, but the story is incredible.
Yeah, like I feel like this is a dark horse of like the comic darlings of people that are starting to come up through comics that people are noticing. I feel like Daniel Warren Johnson's just that dark horse that people aren't totally seeing, but they're starting to take notice of. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's got potential to be something really huge.
Yeah.
With that storytelling potential, absolutely.
Can I share how I heard about this book real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about like how TikTok and Reels have an impact on like wrestling and stuff earlier. So there was this guy I followed. I don't know if he still makes videos or anything, but he did this thing because he used to work on, I think it was on the weekends or on Sundays, especially at a comic shop. And he goes, what he does, he puts a Marvel comic on display, a DC comic on display, then he put an indie comic on display. And this was one weekend he put this one. He's like, yeah, and so what he does is he talks about each comic a little bit. And so this was one of them. And so I'm like, ever since then, that video, like the way he talked about it, I was like, ooh, I want to read that. So it's like the discoverability, like you were saying, like the discoverability and like being the Daniel Warren just being somebody who like could easily be huge. Like, I think it's the discoverability and of like indie stuff like this is like it makes reading comics like that much more enjoyable. Like stuff that you've never heard about, and like, oh, like, what's this? And having people that are knowledgeable enough to be like, hey, check this out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this sort of comic is the reason why we started this, like indie comic book club, and we started wanting to like, hey, let's see what indie comics are out there and see what we think of them. Finding stuff like this is one of the reasons I wanted to start it, because I'm like, there are so many great comics out there, that you're just going to miss if you only focus on Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
I have issue 1 somewhere too, because I went to a comic shop with Caleb the first time I visited like North Carolina, and I was trying to find this. I couldn't find it. They had issue 1, which I never read.
Nice.
So I have this and issue 1 randomly.
Oh, dude, that's sweet.
Hey, issue 1's good though, man. Issue 1's got a great cover.
Yeah.
I obviously I think all of us would recommend this book.
Oh,
I would give it. Yeah. I would put this up there with God Country for me. God Country for me is one of my favorite comics I've ever read, and Lock and Key.
Yeah, definitely 5 out of 5 steel cheers for this one.
Yeah, I would put this in the same level of those. Like, it's just a perfect storm of everything good about comics, in my opinion. Mixed with wrestling, which is awesome.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing is like if you've watched this show before, like we don't hesitate to comment on the stuff that we have issues with. I struggle to find stuff I have issues with in this comic. Like it's a near perfect. I can't find a flaw to it. Not to say there isn't any, and you might not find any, but for me, I'm like, this is a near perfect comic for me. Like, it's a perfect storm, which doesn't always happen. But when it does, better make sure you grab it. So yeah, I think we all recommend this. I'll put the link is down below for this. So please go and check it out.
Yeah.
But Baron Bastion is Necroton's place. Baron Bastion.
Sorry,
I just saw it. It in the book.
There's one of the alternate covers is also, I think, a nod to the shonen like Kiniko Man like manga. This one right here. This book.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah,
totally looks like that art style.
I love it.
That manga that I was talking about.
Yeah, there's some really cool like variant covers, by the way. I'd love to grab a couple of those.
Yeah,
there's some really cool variants. But I think that's it for us for today. Unless anyone's got anything else to say on Do a Powerbomb.
I feel like we covered. it.
I think we covered most stuff on it, and I think we were all pleasantly surprised by just how much we enjoyed this book, and super excited for it. Speaking of God Country, next month we are going to be delving into some God Country, which is one that we've been talking on here for a long time. Like which I also bought when I was in Richmond last time. Yeah, I love God Country. It's such a good book, and I can't wait to delve into it. So we won't delve into any more of that now. But that's it for us now. Remember as well, we are affiliates with BCW Supplies, so for any of your comic book collecting needs, head down below, click on the link, and you also get a nice little code to get a 10% off. All of that information down below the video. But thank you to LJ and Nitro for joining me for this. Make sure you have an amazing week. I hope you all enjoy WrestleMania this weekend if you're watching. And if it's after WrestleMania season, just go watch some wrestling because it's awesome. Anything wrestling today is pretty awesome. But that is it for us. Thank you all so much for joining us. Remember, it is a good week to be a geek. Take care. We'll see you all next time. Peace.